Okay, so warning, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video because I'm going to try to cover all three Senate primary candidates on the Democratic side here in Missouri. Recent polling shows that Trudy Busch Valentine is the frontrunner, so let's start with her. Yes, she is a member of the Anheuser-Busch family, and she has deep roots as a Missouri resident and a longtime supporter of Missouri Democrats and left-leaning issues. She also chose not to be content with her life as a beer heiress. She became a nurse with all those physical hardships, workload, and emotional demands. She made a choice that was driven by compassion and desire to serve others. Busch Valentine certainly seems to be an empathetic person who really does care, and she also has the endorsement of a leader that I personally have a lot of respect for, St. Louis Mayor Tashara Jones. However, I'm going to show you a clip that I think is pretty indicative of why many are hesitant and say that she's just too much of a political novice, and quite frankly is a bit confusing when trying to explain her policy positions.
Would you support a bill that prohibits classroom instruction about sexual orientation or gender identity in K through third grades in public schools?
I think that there's so many things out there, including critical race theory, that just tries to take away the history of our country and the good things we've done and the bad things we've done. And again, it's another thing to, again, say a division between people that we are. And I respect the equality of all people, and I respect who they authentically are, and I will always respect that. I think that's talks between parents and their children, but I think we have to respect equal rights for all people, and we have to respect the dignity of all people.
So you're okay with those types of conversations about sexual orientation happening in those K through third grade classrooms in public schools?
You know, teachers can figure out if that needs to come up at all.
Not that it matters, but I'm not going to be voting for her in the primary. If she wins, though, I will fully support her campaign against the insane Greitens, the political hack Schmidt, or the religious zealot Vicky Hartzer. The next two are where I am torn, and I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't made my mind up yet. First, Lucas Kunce. He has the endorsement of plenty of other people in the Missouri Democrat Party that I respect. Rasheen Aldridge, Sarah Unsicker, to name a few. I also agree with a lot of what the Post-Dispatch says in their endorsement. Kunce is an attorney. He's a Marine veteran of both Iraq and Afghanistan. He grew up in a blue-collar family in Jeff City, Missouri. He's negotiated arms control deals and strategy at NATO with Russia as an international negotiations officer for the U.S. Kunce seems agile. He seems well prepared as a candidate and ready to face the challenge that will be the Republicans in the general election. Kunce clearly seems smart, he's energetic, he's experienced, and to my view, he's a great campaigner. If you're into policy, you should check out his website. I'll tell you, it is more detailed than most anything that I've seen from other candidates in almost any other race. Let's take a look at one of his campaign ads.
But every time I came home, from Iraq and then Afghanistan, things had changed. The community I loved had been hollowed out. Jobs shipped away for Wall Street profits. The wealth of our state sucked dry by guys like Josh Hawley and Roy Blunt, and their top donors who got rich stripping our communities for parts. The house I called home sits empty now, but Missouri is still standing. It's time to Marshall Plan the Midwest. Fight to invest right here in the heartland, where we've been making things for generations. We'll replace the broken system that divides us. Break the grip of corporate power. Join together, black, white, and brown, young and old. This is where we build our future. On the cracked streets, in the forgotten neighborhoods.
Lastly, let's talk Spencer Toder, who is a completely different animal. For all of the traditional political strengths that Kunce has, Toder decided to run a completely different race. He does have some endorsements from sources that I like and respect, like Lindsey Simmons, like the Heartland Pod, like Pro-Choice Missouri. But from the start, he said he wasn't going to run a traditional campaign of raising money and running ads. Toder's been on a mission instead to build trust with voters by directly advocating for them. With that in mind, his campaign helped 10,000 people apply for Medicaid. I already made a video about his work to remove accreditations from the abusive Agape boarding school. So, you know what, I'm just going to let him tell you more.
Let's start with going through the other things that we've worked on, because I'm really proud of the teamwork and the efforts that we've done together. Like, this isn't just me. I have an amazing group of people surrounding me to make sure that these things can happen. We've helped over 600 families get the child tax credit that didn't know they qualified. One of the things that we learned early on in this process was that data and technology in politics is terrible. And so we found that we could do it better. And so we found families that made under $12,000 a year and didn't pay taxes. And with the government doesn't know you pay taxes, they don't know that you have children and you don't get a tax refund. And so we helped over 600 families get $300 per month per child, thus bringing the families hopefully out of poverty, or at least making sure that they had money to put food in their kids' stomachs. I rallied to stop the execution of Ernest Johnson, who had part of his brain removed and was a mentally disabled individual with Missourians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty. We're working along their side with trying to get Kevin Johnson not executed as well. I find execution to be disgusting. Countering violence with violence is never acceptable. Violence in general is never acceptable. We instead of advertising myself, we advertised the school tax credit, the school supply tax credit, or tax holiday weekend last year. And that was actually hugely successful. That was where I started getting some momentum in the Facebook world, because we just put up money into Facebook ads. Hey, this is the weekend to buy your school supplies. We know that things cost a lot these days. And we kind of continued. I mean, we've gotten over 4,000 families discounted internet services. The government didn't really tell people that through the Internet Affordability Act, or the Internet Connectivity Act, they could get $30 a month off of their broadband internet, or their satellite internet, or any internet that they had, if they made less than $57,000 a year as a family. It's a huge percentage of our state makes less than $57,000 a year as a family, and another $360 a year goes a long way. So those are some of the things we've been working on. We have a couple more in the hopper that we're getting ready to start on, and we're going to continue, because ultimately the common thread amongst everything that we discuss is that Missourians have been left behind and no one's listening. And so what I find to be the thing that is the calling to do these things is someone asking, is someone reaching out, and then it turns out that not all the time do people answer.
So yeah, I don't know who I'm voting for yet. I like Kuntz, I like Toder. I hope that this video helped you learn a little bit more about the Democrat side of the upcoming August 2nd primary. Maybe I missed some stuff. Comment, tell me. Because what do I know? I'm just some guy with a tie.